Without my friends, I would be a squashed bug on the street. I feel safe with them. I feel like they have my best interest at heart, so they'll tell me things that are hard to hear, and then they'll tell me things that are really, really nice to hear.
What I look for in friends is loyalty, and that doesn't mean that you have to endorse everything I do, but it means that there's a fundamental honesty and a willingness to go the distance with someone.
I think I was 19 years old when I was shooting a movie on location in Utah. And so I'm getting paid to do a job, I've got cash in my hand, you know, I'm a working actress. I could go out and buy whatever I want, and I was desperately lonely.
Got a lot of friends? Oh, yeah. How many? 3. I don't have a lot of friends.
I have trouble reading people's emotions. Emotions like smiling, crying, anger. There's certain things that people do in their eyes, their nose, their mouth, their hands, their everything. I just don't see that.
29-year-old Jason Ross has Asperger's syndrome, a neurological disorder that impairs the ability to read other people's emotions, which makes relationships extremely difficult.
Is this the only one you put down?
Yeah. Okay. Since I have Asperger's, I don't know when people like me and people don't like me. It makes me feel frustrated.
I felt that something was not quite right with Jason. Almost from the day I brought him home from the hospital, his responses were not as quick as they should have been.
As Jason grew up, the nature of his problem became increasingly clear. He was bright, healthy, but just couldn't connect with other people.
Jason, let's see you do the basket.
If someone came over to play with him, he was thrilled that he had someone come over and play with him. The only thing is, he really didn't want to interact with them.
There he is, Jason Ross, 16 and a half years old. Shut up!
I couldn't fit in well. And everyone else would be playing and I would just go off and want to do my own thing.
I think Jason was one of the loneliest people I've ever met. He didn't know how to relate to people on any level.
We learn to relate to people at home. Our parents and families have to love us, but other people don't. As important as family relationships are, in some sense, they're just practice for what comes next. As children, our parents and siblings are the whole world to us, but as we grow, that world expands to include friends. A few in childhood, a few dozen in adolescence, and if Facebook is to be believed, a few thousand by the time we're done. Everyone knows that friends are good for us, but not everyone knows just how good. Without friendships, people suffer in ways that science is just beginning to understand. When I look out at all these people, one of the things I notice is very few of them are interacting with each other. They're just in the same place at the same time. Do you see a lot of loneliness when you look out on a scene like this?
I see a lot of isolation.
So you can actually be lonely in a crowd?
Absolutely.
Social psychologist John Cacioppo studies how our biology is affected by our social relationships. He's focused much of his work on the impact of chronic loneliness.
Loneliness is associated with a variety of mental and physical disorders. Heart disease, diabetes, dementias, accidents, suicides, a broad range.
So you're at risk as much from being lonely as you are from smoking?
It sounds hard to believe, but the answer is yes, and it's bad for people's health.
Cacioppo's work suggests that the need for companionship is crucial, like the need for food and water.
Loneliness was thought to be like depression, neuroticism, shyness, but it's much more of a signal, very much like hunger and thirst and pain, that says something that's critical for your survival is absent.
Why are we wired to get into these awful states when we're not connected?
It's because we work effectively as a collective. We survive and our offspring survive because we work together in all kinds of unique combinations of people. That's what makes us such a powerful species.
Scientists who study human evolution speculate that the main reason why we have such big brains is that they allow us to interact with others, to distinguish friends from enemies, to cooperate with large numbers of unrelated people. But cooperation is complicated. To do it, we have to be able to determine what another person wants and decide whether or not to give it to them. Not everyone can do these things so easily. Jason Ross is more than willing to help people get what they want, if only he could tell what it is they want. Throughout his childhood and early adult life, Jason's family struggled to understand what was wrong with him. They saw one doctor after another. But Asperger's wasn't a standard diagnosis until 1994, and so Jason was treated for a variety of conditions he didn't actually have, from attention deficit disorder to Tourette's syndrome.
They could not give me a definitive answer. And I kept saying, there's something not right, there's something not right. And it was basically through my working as a volunteer. I was working with a 13-year-old who had Asperger's. And that was the first time I heard of the diagnosis. And I came home and I said to my husband, I said, I felt like I just spent an hour with Jason.
And I know the whole prayer.
I don't think you do.
Oh no, do you want me to sing it again?
No.
You don't want to?
Can we hear the
I don't
first
think
half?
this is the place for you to sing.
Should I? Does anyone else want it?
No.
Why are you being in control of everything?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
You have got to be kidding me.
shehekiyanu v'kimanu.
Dr. Amit Klin is one of the nation's leading Asperger's researchers. Over the past decade, he's conducted a series of studies on how people like Jason process social information.
Individuals with Asperger's syndrome don't know how to play the social game. And because those individuals tend to learn about the world explicitly, they almost like learn about the world rather than learning to function in the world.
Jason, so nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
We asked Jason to visit Klin's lab, where he watched scenes from the film Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
God damn you!
The action of that movie happens in people's faces.
Hi!
It happens in people's posture. And it often happens not when somebody was speaking to another, but in the reaction of another.
And started thinking that maybe it wasn't such a good idea after all, that maybe Georgie boy didn't have
Using
that
a specially developed technology, a cap fitted with miniature cameras, Dr. Klin and his team can actually watch the film from Jason's perspective.
Those cameras film the movements of Jason's eye as he's watching the movie, and from that we can deduce what it is that Jason is actually focusing on. This cross is showing us that Jason is actually looking at this light fixture a lot in the background, whereas many viewers would be spending a lot more time looking at the action of these four central characters and what they're doing and how they're relating to one another.
I think it's colored our whole life.
And then we're all finished with that. So what did you think of the film?
It was pretty good.
Yeah, did you notice anything particular about it? Anything that interested you?
Yeah, many things.
What were some of those things?
The young girl with the blonde hair, she had the big teeth, and I noticed little things in the background.
Oh yeah? Did you remember any of those?
Yeah, like when before he went in the closet in the string, and the thing at the end of the string.
Jason's responses help explain why people with Asperger's find it so hard to build relationships. He hardly notices the social cues that most of us read without even thinking about them.
We are constantly trying to read other people's minds because we want to know their intentions and how they feel about us. If I am not paying attention to those things, if I'm not obsessed in trying to get a sense of what the social situation means, and all that I go by is your words actually might mean exactly the opposite of what you intend.
If we can't tell how someone is feeling, if we don't know what their words or actions mean, then we don't know how to behave towards them. People with Asperger's syndrome are rare, but the problems they face are the problems all of us face in everyday life. All of us sometimes have trouble making sense of the social world. After all, who hasn't felt shy or awkward or alienated or confused? The question is, what can we do about it?
Most of the time, most people see me as like this little boy instead of like a man. It doesn't matter where the situation is or who I meet, but the person will say a joke and tell me this is really true. And they'll be like, a few hours like, oh, we were just lying. It makes me feel pretty bad. I don't understand why people do that to me.
For the past 4 years, Jason has worked with Dr. Richard Perry, a psychiatrist who specializes in helping people with Asperger's syndrome learn some of the social skills that most of us take for granted.
When I first interviewed Jason, he and the family already kind of knew that this might be the diagnosis. I'm going to ask you some questions from a questionnaire that you filled out some years ago.
Right.
Okay, and see what your responses are like.
Okay.
Okay. In a social group, I can easily keep track of several different people's conversations.
No. I cannot keep, I can only keep track of one person at a time, because then I have to read everyone's cues, and it's hard to know when to jump in and when not to because of boundaries and stuff.
The goal in therapy, when you're working with people with Asperger's, is to help them to become as sociable as possible, to be as independent as possible.
Definitely.
I think Jason has made progress in treatment. Part of it is everybody knowing what his issues are and trying to make reasonable accommodations. And then asking, on the other hand, that he make accommodations and understand that when he's talking to somebody, he should listen, process the information, and not pick up a detail of what they're saying and go off into monologues.
That's why my friend Calvin, he always says to me, I'm like the Energizer Bunny.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You keep on going and going and going,
yes.
Right? Okay, okay.
What are you doing this weekend, Jason? It was my job to try to work with him to role play and help him learn the different signals. We would work together where he would look at my eyes and get an idea of my facial expressions.
This is my room, everyone. This is where I post things on my bulletin board, different things I want to remember, different things. This talks about how to speak and listen to people. I had 3 guides for dummies. This one is the most important thing because it talks about dating and social skills and stuff like that. They talk about how to start a conversation with someone, when you hate your date, when you like your date. I love to write. It's the best way for me to communicate with people. My name on my blog is drivemomcrazy.com. It's not to drive mom crazy simply, but it's just be more relaxed and be more sensitive. When I blog, I definitely like to just tell people different things that I've learned in the past. I want to tell people sometimes about what's been going on in my life, but mostly to inspire people. I really wanted to become a doctor. When I was going through a really rough time, I was like fumbling what to do, and my mom, she looked up on the internet about ultrasound. So I went to ultrasound school, and here I am. Can I come in? Okay. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Jason. I'm going to be doing an echocardiogram today, an ultrasound of your heart. Most people with Asperger's struggle at work because we have to adapt to what other people are doing and saying.
How does it look so far?
It looks pretty good. Dr. Coleman's the one who tells you the results. With patients, I have to just block out everything that's going on with myself and just worry about them. Their heart's beating and that's all I can tell you. So.
Ow!
Sorry. I know it sticks. 5 years ago, I didn't have friends. I wasn't working. I was struggling a lot. I'm still struggling, but not as much. I've been thinking about this one friend that I met recently. His name is Emmanuel, and he has Asperger's too.
She wanted me to resend my resume.
Yeah?
Yes.
When I'm with my friend, it makes me feel like I have value. We treat each other like people. After I read it, I can lend it to you.
Jason's dealt with a lot of adversity in his life, and he's come such a long way. He really is an inspiration. I'm not saying that to be cheesy or anything in any way. I just want to make sure that people know and that he knows how proud everyone is of him.
We all have trouble once in a while recognizing what other people need. But for most of us, the bigger problem is trying to decide what to do when another person's needs conflict with our own. Scientists see friendship as an uneasy alliance between people who have different motivations, desires, and points of view. Friends push and pull each other like ballroom dancers. But what starts out as a waltz often ends up as a tug of war between two people, both of whom want to lead, but in opposite directions.